This is part 2 of 4 parts.
So what's possible and quite frequent is that whatever the natural behavioral expression is, the result, as far as the impact on the environment, is that the need isn't met. The baby cries and nobody comes. You go to the refrigerator and open it, there's nothing in there.
The 3-year-old at breakfast this morning wanted to play, and his mom had to get him to child care or preschool. And he wanted to play, he wanted to interact with the people in the dining room, he wanted to have fun, but there was another need going on.
Okay. So at this point of what happens in this particular part of the cycle is there's a lot of transactions that take place of one kind or another. And so if you want to put transactional analysis per se directly into this model, that's one of the places it shows up. The behavioral expression is a transactional stimulus, and whatever the environment does in response, positive or negative, is a transactional response. And we don't have to judge the reason, in order to use this model, logically, you don't have to judge the reasons for or the evil intent or anything like that about why the need isn't met, because from the point of view of the person who has the need, it's not important. What's important here is just whatever it was they did didn't work. So what happens as a result of that is that the behavior that was expressed tends to get extinguished. It didn't work. Why keep it? The other thing that happens...
Can you give a couple of examples? Or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't have them in my head. It didn't work. A baby cries and doesn't get picked up. Nothing happens. And if that happens over and over again, the baby learns that crying doesn't work to get the response. On another hand, a friend of mine had a 2-year-old who learned to say, "God damn it." And he said, he made a song out of it. God damn it, God damn it, God damn it, God damn it. And his mother tried very, very hard not to respond. But he got a response, so he kept singing the song. If you keep going to the cupboard and the cupboard is empty, you quit going to the cupboard. If once in a while the cupboard has something in it, you keep going back.
Unless, of course, you're a human being and you believe that that's the right cupboard, in which case you'll go there forever, no matter how empty it is. That's a place where the theory doesn't quite fit, because we humans are wired very strangely about that. If you do that to a rat, they'll quit going to the cupboard. But if you do it to a human, they'll go forever. Anyway, the behavior tends to get extinguished, and the need isn't met. So here's what happens. All that energy that went into the behavior to begin with is still there. It hasn't been released. And there's an additional, when the experience is that I did this and it didn't work, there's an additional feeling, and that's what we call anger. Simple example, you go out that door and you push on it, it doesn't open. Without any thought process, what most of us will do is push on it again harder. That increment of energy is what we mean by anger. And when we talk about that in a different context later, you'll see what we mean. Anger is an increase of energy to try and get something to happen. So now what you've got is the original need and feeling is still there, and the energy attached to it is still there, plus there's some extra energy. Now at this point, what that will do is it will drive, if the person is capable of another behavior, they'll either put more energy into the same one or they'll switch to another one, and the possibilities remain the same, that either it'll work or it won't work. Now let's back up again. And if it doesn't work, then it cycles around again. If it does work, it's back over to the other side. The need is met, the energy is released, the thing disappears, it's gone. The energy is free to move on to something else. But if it doesn't work, the person keeps cycling back around until they run out of different behaviors. Each time they cycle around and it doesn't work, there's an increment of angry energy added to it. So you're talking about going round and round and round, cranking up more and more energy and running out of things that work.
Just let me give a quick example of that. Somebody is depressed, and she knows that what she can do is call somebody for strokes. And so she calls her best friend, no answer, answering machine. And she calls her next best friend. And then she calls her sister, and no answer, no answer, no answer, no answer, no answer. And after a while, she cuts herself. Okay. All the options got used up. She went to something else.
Okay. At this point, however, we're talking about the creation of something different. You know, if you think about the baby who cries and nobody comes and eventually stops crying, what will happen when this system gets fully energized is that something new happens. And the something new is that a new behavior is created, and it's what we call substitute behavior. It's not actually new, but what the baby will do is lay there passively.
Okay,
Now, let me just finish the sentence.
Okay.
Laying there passively and resting is not a natural expression of the need for food. Okay? But while laying there quietly, maybe the parent calms down and comes and takes care of the baby. So the substitute actually works. It's just that it's disconnected from the natural expression of behavior.
Tell about the high chair. Linda in the high chair.
The daughter's in the high chair, and we say some kind of no, don't do that to her. I don't remember what
I
it
want
was.
this, whatever it was.
Or I want this, and the answer was no. I forget what. So in the space of about 5 seconds, she runs through half a dozen different facial expressions. She goes, she goes, she goes, that one worked. She still does it. Just ran through the repertoire until something had an impact. We still didn't give her what she wanted, but we broke up at that point, so she discovered that was a good source of strokes, to smile and bat your eyes and look cute, like that.
She's now got 4 kids, and she's wise to them.
Serves her right. Right? Okay. Let's see. I think I didn't want to put that there yet. Transactional analysis, psychotherapy, the characteristics of adult children of alcoholics, the DSM-4 and any subsequent additions to it that you can imagine all fit into this box called substitute behavior. Substitute behavior is what we create in an attempt to get needs met when what we would naturally do doesn't work. And everything that walks into your office or that sits on one of these wards or comes to your attention as something to do something about somebody else's negative, dysfunctional, or whatever behavior has this model behind its creation. And if you start thinking about what's in front of you, regardless of the context, even if you're dealing in a management situation, if you think about what's going on in front of you as somebody's attempt to get a need met, and start thinking of it that way, then you start addressing the question of, well, what is the need and how do we see that we get it met, rather than reacting to the substitute behavior. Does this make sense? You see how this fits? One of my colleagues once said that all psychological theorists are either lumpers or splitters. They either take a whole bunch of things and put them into one box and put one label on it, treat them all alike, or they take everything out of the box, put a different label on each thing, and try and do something different for each thing. This is a lump. Substitute behavior is the major lump. And a lot of the rest of the content that we'll be delivering over the weekend will be taking stuff out of that box and looking at some of the details of it. But if you understand where it fits in the scheme of things, it gives you an idea of where you're going with it when you look at this stuff.
Really, when I think about some of the kids that I'm working with, substitute behavior is a step beyond their initial just complete breakdown, anger and upset and being stuck in that anger.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So substitute behavior is sometimes a real,
Yeah.
give me something different.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes. Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
sometimes the anger is the substitute behavior.
This is the end of part 2. Go on to part 3.